20, and I would look at each one and I couldn't read any of them, so.
That was just a Saturday. All ends.
Only crowds are there.
It's all right, I have a system.
Hang in here. Yes, here. All right, everybody rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure. Oh Lord, as we gather this day to do the important business for the people of the village of Owego, grant us wisdom, compassion, and understanding. Amen. All right, so first item is public comment. You guys can do your thing now.
Do we want to do it? Okay. Hi, I'm Deb Smith, and I'm a business owner and property owner on North Avenue. For the record, I did ask to be put on the agenda, but Mr. Mayor forgot me. I'll try to do this fast because I don't want to take up a whole lot of time. But I wanted you to all be aware of a group that has formed, and we called ourselves United Merchants for a Vibrant North Avenue. And it's a group of 20 different businesses that are on the strip of North Avenue that is shown here, the first block. And we're coming together, I guess the DRI, which by the way, I thought Brittany had told me she was going to be here tonight. Did that change the DRI presentation? Was she supposed to be here, or did she have the wrong date? Maybe Brittany Woodburn? Or?
I'm not sure.
No? Okay. I thought she was going to be here today, but what had originally started this movement that we created was the DRI and not being approved to do anything in our block, which, you know, most of us applied for, and we didn't get anything. So that kind of started our United Merchants for Vibrant North Avenue, and I wanted to make this group aware of it. We started out by having a meeting with our mayor, and we made him aware of our group. And then at that meeting, it was recommended that we had a meeting with the county ladies, which we did, and our legislator Marty, and Whitney and Leanne were there, and made them aware of our group for grant money and help. And then at that meeting, they suggested that we come to the village, and that's why I'm here. I'm doing what the steps that they think that we need to do to make everybody in our community aware that we exist. And there's new owners in town, a lot of us, and we want to see change. So the two goals, our first meeting we had 18 that attended, and our two goals was to improve our business, which we hire employees. I have 5 to 6 employees. We all, or most of us, have some sort of employee base. We create tax revenue by sales tax for our community, which stays in our community, and we want to grow our business more successfully. So we have business owners in our group, and then we have property owners who want to enhance or revitalize our properties in order to be competitive with the other part of our village. That's the key word here. We want to be competitive with the other parts of our village that has the benefits of grant money where we don't. And while we go without help, actually, we have an unfair advantage with some of the other streets in town. And I will say Lake and Front Street, but I mean no offense to Lake or Front Street, because they need money too, and I'm glad that they have or will receive money. You know, that's a blessing for them, and I'm happy, and I'm not taking away from them, but we got zero. And I don't think, and we need it more. We have gone many, many, many years on that street with no money to help us. Those buildings are 200 years old or hundreds of years old. We get bombarded with truck traffic that Lake and Front Street don't get. I just this week was in the back room of my business, and a truck went by with their jake brake on and shook the window of my back room. Now I'm not in the front room with the big $1,300 bay window that I just replaced for a crack for no apparent reason. But we get shaken and we get traffic that isn't normal on our buildings, the dust, the dirt, and everything like that. We have good advantages of being North Avenue. We get 15,000 cars a day go by our business that they don't. So there's benefits, but there's also normal wear and tear in our buildings that doesn't go anywhere else. We are a part of the village. North Avenue in the past was a major player in our village economy, and it could be again with 15,000 cars coming through a day. Now when you come across, and I know some of you were at the DRI meeting when I said this before, when you come across that Owego Bridge, you see the beautiful courthouse. You round the corner, if you're a tourist, to go to the Finger Lakes, you round the corner to go up North Avenue, and it's like, what happened? And it's not because the owners neglected, although there's a lot of new owners now. It's because we don't get the revenues to support maintaining some of the building structure. Like, the other parts get grants, that's great, but we also have an unfair advantage because the way that part is, we can't get the rents they can on Front Street. I can't get $1,250 for a storefront commercial. I get half of that if I'm lucky. If I got $1,200 for each storefront I had, my buildings would be looking a lot nicer. I can't get it because there's a stigma, or I'm calling it an unfair advantage in a lot of ways. A lot of things happen for that part that don't happen for ours. And again, I'm not bashing the other part of town. I really am not. I respect everybody there, and I'm glad. Oh, see that? I told you she was coming. So, one of the things that Brittany, hi Brittany, made me aware of is that in our grant that is coming up. Now I know this is premature, but we want to make you aware that we exist. And this $600,000 that's in a fund, if it is approved by the state, is, from my understanding, the purpose is to help some facades, some things on different streets. And I want you to remember this map with this part of North Avenue and these committed 20 businesses or 18 people who say, we want change. You come across that bridge, like I was saying, and you're a tourist. Even if 10% of them thousands of people are tourists coming through our village, your first impression is your lasting impression. If they come through and see the beautiful courthouse and then come into what I kiddingly call the ghetto part of town, they're not coming back. They're not parking their car in the fancy parking lot in the back either, because they want their Mercedes not to be nicked up. It looks like a bad part of town. And we're all trying. I'm not putting ourselves down, because we wash our windows, we advertise, we sweep our sidewalks, we try to paint and do the things that we can do. The buildings just don't generate the revenue like the other part of town because we're sort of treated a little different. And that's an unfair thing to be happening in our village, because we create jobs, we create a tax base, and we deserve the same treatment as everybody else. Whether it's getting our street swept, our snow removed, and I know it's a state road and that's another issue, but or whether it's getting a grant to help, or some plants or some trees like they do over there, something that will make it look more inviting and appealing that is beyond our control. So I'm hoping, even though premature, this $600,000, according to what I understand from the county ladies, that it will be in the control of the village. And I just want to say, please remember us, that we are willing to do whatever it takes to change downtown, to make it look nicer, and to keep it nice.
Do you want me to add? Oh, well, I said it at both meetings with the village, with the mayor and a couple of the trustees, and with the legislator. We've had customers come into my shop, and I had a customer that lives in Ithaca and goes to New Jersey. It's just this one stuck out. She said to me, we stopped coming through Owego because there was nothing on the street. about 7 years ago, and they decided they were, so they would take 79. So she said, we decided to come through this time. We didn't realize when you turned left that there was other parts of the village, because when we came through, this looked so horrible that we just turned and got right on the highway. But now that there are more businesses, she goes, it's so much nicer over here. We actually turned left and realized there's a whole nother part of this village. So it's not only gonna help North Ave if we can get some funding to do those painting and the windows, and it's gonna help the rest of the village to send those people that are driving through, passing through, to actually turn left at Main Street instead of just right and getting right on the highway.
So the mayor is on our Facebook page. If anyone else would like to be on it, we would be glad to invite you or to have you on it so that you can see our communications. But again, our goal is to tell you that we exist, that we want change, and we need help. And so, thank you.
What's the name of the Facebook page?
United Merchants.
United Merchants for a Vibrant North Avenue. And I've listed what I read to you, what our goals were, you know, on there. There's not a whole lot on there, we just communicate. Some people on North Avenue aren't in this century with their Facebook or computer emails. Rusty. But besides that,
He was at the meeting, though.
Yeah.
yeah, it was. So, you know, it's just a way we can communicate with each other to try to hopefully get, and there's a new grant we're applying for. Brittany is applying for us.
So maybe if we could ask Brittany for an update. So there was a Main Street grant for which this block was the only block that was eligible. And that was, what, a year or two ago?
Did we get denied for that? So we're applying again.
Yeah. But what's the status of that?
It's due at the end of July.
Okay.
So there's a resolution
We
tonight.
have a resolution tonight, so
There you go.
let Brittany apply for it.
There we go.
Yeah. So hopefully that, but, you know, Waverly, it took three times, a few times. So we know this money exists and is hopefully going to be available. So that's why we want you to remember us. If the state gives it to the village control, to remember us.
Okay. Thanks.
Hopefully we hear about all that DRI stuff soon.
Just as a point of pride, my family built and owned that entire block from the police station to Main Street 5 generations ago.
That's awesome. So we'll have your vote then.
Absolutely.
And they want it back. It's public comment time, so
Oh, okay. No, but,
we'll do the resolution on that.
okay.
Anybody else?
I thought I was going to be on the agenda also, but perhaps not. Weaver Rotary Club is celebrating its 100th anniversary next year, and we sent a letter to the village requesting that you consider allowing us to maybe plant trees and create an arboretum in the Canawana area where you can't build anymore. And so we would like to do it on village property to start with, and then perhaps we can grow it later. And so we were hoping that you got the letter and you start the process and let us know how we can talk to some of your assistants.
That would be mainly Jeff.
When do we need any zoning changes for that?
Not for trees.
Not for a tree, right?
So, we plan it with, some trails. We take down some of the dying trees, and we plant some native trees and identify them, mark them, and care for them. Because we're 100 years old, we're consider 100 trees, and we could probably put a couple on North Avenue too. Whatever.
Spread the wealth.
Pardon?
Spread the wealth.
So that's a goal that we have, and so I didn't know when that was going to be on the agenda, but it's obviously not tonight.
We can talk about it.
What's the contiguousness of the property that we own down there?
Well, it's sort of a bit of a, we could, not a straight line trail.
Yeah.
We can, and then we may be able to get more land, but we want to start with the village land, because you can't do anything with it. We just, if you plant trees, it helps with flooding, it slows down the water. And we also will have some bushes that are like, attract butterflies, and they're like willow bushes, not little trees, but there's various things that we want to plant. And, and eventually we would probably have, create a governing body to manage it. Well, we could use not Canawana, but the people in Waverly, they have a project they could expand here, or Waterman, or we could create our own. So, but that would be on down the road. And so just would like to start with you and go forward. So if you want me to deal with Jeff, that would be...
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it.
So, would you be planning next spring?
Well, we have to plan, you have to get in line with the trees.
Planting,
You have to get the trees, get in the right sequence and then the right timing with the ground, and then we have to...
Most of what we own, plus it doesn't have much trees there. We own four different places over there. Adam Weissman owns a lot of the wooded area. We own them all.
We would probably, we're going to approach that.
Yeah, he might be willing to donate some of that.
But first we want to establish, we can do it without them, but we want to control. And so here's where we start.
So, and I don't need FEMA's permission to put trees and bushes.
No.
And we probably get Cornell landscape people to help us plant stuff like that. So it's, we'll just use our expertise to get some money.
Well, a walking trail we're talking about, would that start down by the river?
Well, it could start. It could start on Main Street, go to the river, go down to the loading the dock or whatever we're going to call it, and we can expand it to along the riverbank where all the Japanese plants are. And, maybe plan better things that would make it more appealing.
So where are you talking about, John? I want to understand.
Well, I don't have the map.
So we have the boat launch that goes down Canal Street to the boat launch and down River Street towards town. Are we talking down there by the boat ramp?
Well,
There's one between Canal and Water Street.
I thought Kevin was going to be here. He knows more of the actual property, but it's just beyond the plaza. That whole section. There's a between the streets, not
That's nice.
not nice.
Further over there.
Yeah. No,
No, to the right. Nope, too far.
Right there.
You were almost there.
Okay, the red, all right.
Okay, so the green underneath the red.
All
There you
right,
go, yeah.
good.
So you're talking along the riverbank and whatever properties that we have there behind the plaza on the other side of the street. Okay.
And you can't build there anymore, so it would just be utilized and maybe become a tourist attraction, because there's an arboretum and school kids could learn, and it would be a positive thing.
Yeah, great.
And we could have some nut trees or fruit trees, or the village could benefit from whatever grows there.
One last piece. So we know that Adam owned at least one piece of property there. He was originally going to put his dog park down there. Have you guys been in contact with him at all?
Well, I casually asked him, you can plant the trees you want, but that was before we thought about the arboretum. And so arboretum would involve people on your land looking and walking, and so it's insurance policy. So it's kind of, we need to approach it more than just casually say, you can plant trees kind of level.
And actually, that's the point I wanted to touch on to the board. I mean, I think it's one thing if you talk with Jeff and Jeff says, sure, plant some trees. It's another if we're actively making it an inviting tourist destination or effectively making it a parkland. Right now, it's just vacant village property. But if we turn it into a park, then that means certain things, like you can never make it on a park without going to the state legislature. Not that we can do very much on it right now anyway, but there's those types of considerations, and I would say to contact the village's insurance agent to see if that would, if designating it as parkland or doing something like what's being proposed here would have any impact. Just to ask the question to make sure that's covered before you guys vote on doing something affirmatively tonight. My recommendation, and I haven't seen the letter, so I don't know how detailed you.
I don't know where the president signed. She went to Europe, so I don't know. I thought it was here.
But I would
I haven't seen it yet either, so this way we're on the agenda.
Is this related to the one that Cornell was going to give the trees? Is that the same one?
No, we planted 5 trees. That's a different.
Okay, that's okay. And I haven't seen it.
This was Judy, letter to Judy Quigley.
Okay. I didn't see it.
Nathan, I mean, we were looking at this, the issue for Evergreen, and I mean, you don't have to designate it as a park. I mean, like, we're talking about a picnic area up there, so I'm guessing there are other alternatives, aren't there?
Possibly, yeah. I think it's understanding what exactly the specific proposal is. Is it going to be an arboretum? Would there be the intent to have a walking path? Or just what's going to be done? And that's why I apologize. I haven't seen the letter, so I don't know how much detail you get into it. But maybe talking with Jeff about what's feasible, what Jeff's department's willing to maintain going forward, or what the volunteer support might actually look like to the board.
Yeah, we would try to take a role away from Jeff. Well, I mean, we would probably like to move mulch pile. I mean, that kind of thing. So we got some in-kind work would be involved.
Yeah. I would just ask that some proposal be outlined with some detail, or enough, for Rusty especially, to at least start asking those hard questions. And then,
Well, if they put a plan together and bring it back to you guys.
Right.
yeah.
See what it's like.
All right, thank you.
Sounds like we're interested. Need some detail.
All right. Anybody else with other comment?
Mr. Mayor, I noticed, hate to say I wasn't on the agenda, but you want me to go now, or?
Sure.
Okay. A few weeks ago, the mayor
It's not a public comment.
asked me to look into a program around the country. It's pretty popular, and it's basically a veterans tribute banner program. It has a few different names. So basically, I'm going to try to tell the board what it's about. Some of you probably already know, and then I'll make some recommendations and answer questions. You'll probably have a lot of questions. All right, so did a bit of research on this. All I've done is collect open source research. I've talked to some people. I talked to the people who head up the Elmira program. And what it is we're looking to honor or pay tribute to folks in the military, veterans. They could be currently on active duty. They could be off of active duty, honorably discharged, hopefully. And to pay them some honor, we get them, their families, to buy banners of a variety of different sizes, which I would make a recommendation on that as well. And the banners get hung in town on typically a utility pole. The cost of that is anywhere between $125 and $260. The hardware, the mounting apparatus, is the most expensive part of this. Once that's in place, you can actually put other banners up. Now, I'm going to kind of talk a little bit here and there. The folks in Elmira started with 25 one year, and they're up to 238. And they have a system where they rotate different flags too, because people want to get their loved one up there. So there's a couple of vendors I've actually talked to. So really, if it's a decision that you go ahead with, the recommendation would be that you get, either a person would need to volunteer and be the front person, or typically good PR stuff. You have a Lions Club or a Kiwanis or a Boys and Girls Club or whatever it might be, Rotary Club, be kind of the front man for it. And they would execute creating a guideline where you have specific dates for when the entries come in and when the deadline is, because the vendor needs to generate a proof back to the people to see if it meets their standards. There's a lot of variations. I can tell you this: there's really no program. It's not the most common word is the Hometown Heroes banner program, but there's no program. There's no governing authority saying anything. I mean, the board can do whatever they want with that. That being said, I would suggest that if it was something you went with, that we decided on one size banner, because some of these programs say you can get this banner, you can get this banner, and this one. I don't know if that's a good idea. And Laura, with the thing that you represent, that might be pretty important as well, where you want to hang these things in town, or I don't know what the criteria is there. But there's other things like the kickoff is typically on Memorial Day, and you might have a ceremony right downtown at the courthouse, and typically they remove them by Veterans Day or the day after Veterans Day. Some places you can leave them up year-round. Not here, probably a good idea. And then again, you would have someone that would say, all right, this banner's been up 3 years and it doesn't look good, and it's got to go. So then you would wrap it up and you hand it to the family. I would also make a recommendation that you don't use the word Hometown Heroes program, even though the vast majority of them are that. And I know that we want people to look at our veterans as heroes, but in some way it's actually not accurate. In other ways it is. I've seen programs that they call themselves, like I said, military veterans tribute banner program or military honors program. That's my suggestion, and that's because some folks might shy away from wanting to be called a hero. I served 26 years. Trust me, we're not all heroes. But I would recommend that there is a process where this applicant is vetted in some way. I could be a part of that somehow if you needed that to be. Also, we have 3 Medal of Honor winners in Owego. We have Isaac Catton, we have Benjamin Franklin Tracy, we have Richard Stout, and we also have Osmond Levy, a 3-time Silver Star winner. So these folks are not around today. So maybe contacting their families. I mean, I could assist in that if anybody needed that. To say, hey, look, we're having this program. We'd love to have these guys up front, because their peers and their families are not really. I don't think they're even active in the community. They might be. We also have Margaret Hastings, so we'd like to include. Now, see, she's not technically a hero. She got stranded she crashed on a Liberty flight, in New Guinea.
Lost her life.
Yeah, absolutely. And she became, national media attention as a corporal in the WACS, which is, the Women's Army Corps. So, that would be great to have those up as well. But they're not all heroes per se. Okay, I don't know if there's any questions for me.
It sounds like something that's great to set up along North Avenue, like we're trying to revitalize that any way we can. I mean, it'd be nice to, we got slow traffic that goes through there, sitting behind those trucks, and you got something to read along the side there, and it draws your attention to the merchants that are along there also.
Can I respond to that? Sure. Yeah. Well, we have banners up already that merchants buy, and they're flying most of summer. And the veterans seem to have all the statues on the courthouse square you're honoring these people you're already talking about. And so I think there's a bit of a conflict of what's going on. hero or no hero, I mean, I can never qualify because I never served in the service, but I did some important things in my life, and I'm not a hero, but I don't feel I should be on the thing. But so it's a game of names and thoughts and stuff. I'd rather see us support the astronauts who, Lockheed Martin brought to town, and our community is progressive and forward, not dealing with the past wars.
Well, they're in the military as well, those astronauts, most of them, I mean, not all.
I know, but it's the future and not, spend money on it.
Well, the money isn't to be spent, okay, that's, that money isn't to be spent, it's gonna be, the town's not paying for that. The village is not paying for that. That's generated by the families. They're gonna pay the whole thing. My only suggestion would be if there's someone who cannot afford that, and we have somebody really deserving of some kind of honor, that maybe we could get that group, Rotary Kiwanis or whatever that sponsoring group was, to generate some donations toward that. And that also brings up another good question, because this is the county seat, it's also the village and in the town as well. Are we going to include the county? You think of Rebecca Halstead. She is the first general officer female to graduate from West Point. She's from Candor, Willseyville, but she would not be included if it was just the village or just the town, so that might be something to consider.
The village owns all, in the past streetscape project, they put in all those poles, and they all have the banner rods, so in the summertime they're using them to hang flower baskets and stuff like that. And then in the winter, the merchants put the lights on the river banners up, and that's something that the village does for them. And there's probably about 28 that get sold and put up every year, and that just is up for like a couple months or so, until they want to take them down. The poles though that are there aren't like a regular banner size, so whatever gets ordered to fit on what's already existing, you'd have to measure for a much smaller thing, and they don't have anything in the bottom. So if you were going to do that, you'd have to probably just use what's existing. I was president of the merchants for a couple of years back, and we talked to Lockheed Martin several times, and they were very interested in that, and having, they did more want to support the people there's a lot of people that have local ties with like the aerospace stuff, more so than the veterans, but they definitely were interested in supplying money to do banners and stuff like that, because they liked the ones that they saw in Elmira.
Yep, and that Elmira program, was specifically a hometown hero program. You could make your program, notable people, of a WeGo program if you wanted to. Sure. I will say that the companies offer a warranty for their product, and that they're quite specific about what it goes up, and if it's not attached to one of their pieces of hardware, they're not going to give you the ones that I've talked to will be very specific about it. It has to be on our hardware, we're not going to warranty it, so probably. And that's something that the sponsoring group would work with the vendor.
Well, could it be the banners put up other areas of the village other than just in the business section?
Anywhere you want to put them up, yeah.
Some might be in the neighborhood where that person had lived, or...
In many of these other communities, what type of pole do they put a pole in, or do they try to put them?
Vast majority is on a utility pole.
So someone would have to get the utility company's permission to put
Yeah, depends on who owns it though.
Yeah.
Well, we don't own the utility poles.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like it's a problem with everyone I've seen, Rusty, is like a utility pole and has a bracket here that comes out, and then one up over here. They say the bottom of the flag should be around 14 feet off the ground, and that, you only typically have about 2 or 3 seconds to look at it, and you'll find vendors with different things. Don't put so many words on it, put less words on it, and It's all gonna come down to what you prefer, but, you know, I think the idea is maybe a bigger picture, less words.
I don't know whether this is something we're gonna do, or I'm not anybody's on that, but immediately my brain thinks of clerk of the works for this would be the American Legion and the VFW. We're talking about somebody to run it, do it.
Sure.
It seemed like the people to do this.
Seems like the right group.
Yeah, sure does.
It could be a combination of them, maybe the Rotary, I mean, I don't know. Could be whoever.
When we do agree that it's a great idea.
I think it's a good idea.
Thanks, Steve. Let us know that.
You're welcome, yeah. Feel free to contact me.
Anybody else, public comment?
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Good idea. All right. So we have, we want to do this resolution. Let's do this resolution for the fitness deal. You want to explain it?
Yeah, so it's the New York Main Street grant, like we were just talking. Teresa worked with the village and property owners last year on it, and unfortunately it wasn't funded, so we're just gonna resubmit for this year, the same target area. It could be up to $500,000 in grant funds we apply for. It just depends on how much interest we're getting from the property owners. It's a 75% grant, 25% match for the property owners in the targeted area. So we just need a resolution from, the county is going to actually be applying for it, but because the project is in the village, we still need a resolution from the village too.
So the county will be administering the grant, doing all the parts of the grant. They will be the ones that choose where, where out.
Yeah, so there's right now we're just gathering letters of, we call letters of commitment from the property owners, and that just shows need for the full funding request. But if we're awarded, depending on how much we get, will be a legal application process. And so there's certain priorities